good everyone? It's Steve from Sneaker Tech Talk, back with another video today. For today's video, we will be talking about a retro that will be making a comeback in fall of 2026, and that is the Nike Zoom Flight 98, the glove. So without further ado, let's take a look at the 2013 retro and everything they can do for the 2026 retro to make things right, because these were not right as far as the execution. So without further ado, let's take a look. Alright, so if you didn't know, this is one of, if not my favorite basketball shoes of all time. I have a very close connection with the shoe because I really wanted this shoe growing up, and I only got the Son of Glove from Nike, but this is a model that I've always wanted. I've owned some original pairs, obviously a ton of retros, and I hear they're retroing them again next year in 2026. This is obviously the Nike Zoom Flight 98, the glove made for Gary Payton. This shoe was designed by Eric Avar back around 1996 or 1997, and then it released in 98 for Gary Payton, the game's elite trash talker of the 90s. And I just love the overall aesthetics of the shoe. It was packed with tech as well, and we'll get into that in a minute. But I do want to talk about on how they can improve things on the 2026 retro, because this shoe was more or less a shell of itself when it came to everything that was housed within inside of this shoe. And before we start talking on how it doesn't matter if the brand puts the Zoom Air back in the shoe, the carbon fiber, you name it, I don't care. I know a lot of people seeing this on shelf will gravitate towards it just because of the look. But a couple years ago, the Zoom GP retroed with the ratchet system right here. And they could have done the same thing on these that they did with these right here, but they didn't. They put a carbon fiber midfoot shank plate in on these. They put Zoom Air in the heel, a Zoom Air bag in the forefoot, some pretty nice leather on the upper of the shoe, the proper ratcheting system right here as well. So this execution was really good considering these weren't. So I'm hoping they take the same approach that they took with these. Do your homework. If you're gonna do them again, do them right, or don't do them at all. I'm really not getting my hopes up, because similar to the Nike Flight Posit with the wrong outsole that doesn't wrap up on the medial side anymore, I think they're gonna bomb these again in 2026. But here's to hoping that they can fix things on the 2026 retro. Alright, so starting with the outsole on this pair right here, and what you're getting is this kind of wave pattern in white and red, and that is the first thing that they can fix on the 2026 retro. Now the red portions right here are solid rubber. On the originals back in 1998, they were translucent, so please put the translucent rubber back in at the heel and the forefoot. That is the first thing that they can fix with this shoe. I did hoop in a pair in the early 2000s, and the traction pattern was elite. I did not hoop in the retros because there's basically no tech at all housed within the shoe, so I didn't even bother. But that is the first thing they can fix on the 2026 retro. Now the next thing that they can fix is also on the bottom of the shoe, and that is this plastic shank plate right here. This is supposed to be carbon fiber. Please put the carbon fiber back in. I know it is a sportswear retro, but just put the proper tech within the shoe, because honestly, this shoe next year in 2026 could still be hooped in easily if they do them properly. And the carbon fiber goes a long way compared to this plastic shank plate right here. Now, as far as the cushioning goes on this retro right here from 2013, you do have a EVA or Phylon midsole right here, wrapping 360 degrees around the shoe, and that is what the originals had. But the Zoom Air, or lack of Zoom Air, in this retro is an abomination compared to the originals. Now the originals had a very large volume Zoom Air bag in the heel and an articulated Zoom Air bag here in the forefoot, kind of like a Zoom turbo bag. But back in 1998, it was groundbreaking that these had that in the forefoot. Now this retro only had a very small circular Zoom Air bag in the heel and nothing up front. It's completely dead. It's just foam. Like I said, Nike, if you're gonna do these, do them properly. I wouldn't even be mad if they were $30 or $40 more expensive than these were. I think these were $140 USD back in 2013, around 190 or $200 Canadian. I would easily pay 230 or 240 Canadian to get the proper retro. So again, put the proper cushioning setup within the shoe, and these are still hoopable today easily. Make me a happy customer and just make the shoe more comfortable to wear on foot, because that's what the shoe is lacking, is the Zoom airbags underfoot. Now, another thing that they could fix in 2026 is this leather wrap right here. Now, the originals, it was cut a lot lower, more low profile. On this retro, it is very exaggerated and comes up way higher right here. It is a pretty decent grain of leather, which is nice, but they just need to cut it a little bit lower to make it closer to the originals, because this is pretty beefy right here on the medial side. I still think this is a very clean look, considering it's basically a spandex upper, and then right here on the medial side, kind of like a toe guard, it has this really nice leather material. So definitely make that more low profile, and it will clean things up a bit. And then another thing that they can fix housed within the shoe, they have a standard Ortho Light insole right here. Nothing special, as you can see right here. Now, the originals didn't have an insole you could take out at all. Actually, it was stitched to the strobel, so you could not physically take out the insole. You could see the stitch mark lines all the way around the insole inside of the shoe, and that was like a custom fit feature for the Zoom Flight 98 back then. But for this pair right here, they put in a standard insole. So again, if you're going to do them properly, or do them at all, please do them properly with the proper insole that is stitched on the new retros. Even in 2006, when he played on the Miami Heat, they made his PE pairs identical to the originals, because I've held and owned PE pairs from 2006 in the Miami Heat colorway, and they were literally one for one to the OGs 8 years prior. Everything else within this shoe is more or less the same. The one thing that the originals didn't have was a beefy zipper. With this retro, they did put a thicker zipper on them, which is a lot better than the originals, because with the Son of gloves and the OGs, I remember a ton of people's zippers busting right here and blowing open mid-game, and then the shoe is basically useless. So put the same zipper that you put on these on the 2026 pair, and I don't think we're going to have any issues. Obviously, the internals of the shoe is mostly mesh. You have the articulation 1.5, the nubuck around the eye stay. On this side, it does say exoskeletal. And then if you know me, you know I love monkey paw. You get that anti-inversion support system on both sides of the shoe. I don't remember if the originals were translucent. I know the white and green pair were, but with these, I don't remember if the black pair was a translucent monkey paw, but on these, it is a solid TPU. And this is just there to prevent your foot from teetering over and spraining your ankle. It adds a ton of support on both sides of the shoe. You also have that Flight logo and the Flight script at the back of the shoe. So a lot of really cool features within the shoe underneath the shroud. You have the neoprene top of the tongue with the swoosh logo, some more nubuck material, just a ton of really amazing design features made by none other than Eric Avar for Gary Payton. As far as the fit goes with this model in general, I would go true to size. It more or less fits like a 90s basketball shoe, so I went with a size 11, and my toe is right near the end of the shoe right here. It is a nice and snug fit, but the toe box is pretty bulbous. There is some extra room inside of the shoe, which is rather nice, because to make them wearable for long periods of time, you don't want them to be super snug, and you don't get that issue with these. Also, as far as the support goes, these do have an internal TPU heel counter, the monkey paw on both sides. Your foot is seated housed within this midsole. The originals had carbon fiber. These only have that plastic shank plate. And then you also get a traditional lacing system on the inside of the shoe. So overall, the support of the shoe is pretty decent. And honestly, if they make them properly compared to the originals, like I said, this is a hoopable shoe in 2026. It will be a little bit more heavy, but because of the neoprene and the foam, or the mesh, sorry, on the inside, it is decently breathable as well. Another shoe I'd love to see them bring back is the T-Bug for Tim Hardaway, but I am very stoked to be getting the Zoom Flight 98s back in 2026, because like I already said, it's one of my favorite basketball shoes of all time. And then as far as the design goes, I love this shoe. I love the neoprene or spandex upper. It kind of houses everything underneath it. I love the oversized swoosh. The white swoosh here, I believe the originals did have a black stitched swoosh on this Velcro enclosure. The retros did have white, so that would be nice to see that come back with a black swoosh. You have a medial swoosh right here. You have the leather at the toe box, the aggressive traction pattern. Just a great 90s looking basketball shoe, and I'm stoked they're going to be back next year. Another pair I actually did see in hand this summer was the sample from like 6 or 7 years ago with the translucent shroud on the upper. I believe that was Dr. Swoosh's pair from the Gathering in Portland, Oregon. I really hope they don't do that pair in 2026. Keep it OG, make the specs OG, and you will have one happy camper in myself. But that's going to do it for today's video. As always, if you guys could like, comment, and subscribe, that would definitely help the channel a ton. And check out my Instagram over at Sneaker Tech Talk, as it is an extension of my YouTube channel with all my pickups, basketball footage, and nostalgia as a whole. Thanks for watching today's video, and until next time, peace.